esteemed guests, and passionate advocates for a sustainable future, welcome to the 20th Research Lounge. Together, we can and will make a difference. Today, we gather not only as researchers, but as collaborators, united by a shared vision of a more sustainable world. Together, we will explore this transformative potential of multidisciplinary research and delve into how it can catalyze progress towards achieving sustainable development goals set forth by the United Nations. The road to sustainable development. How multidisciplinary research can help. How do we navigate this road to sustainability? The answer lies in the power of multidisciplinary research. Is while bridging the gap between various fields of study, be it science, technology, social sciences, or humanities, we unlock innovative solutions and a fresh perspective and pave the way for meaningful change. And together we can and will make a difference. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce today's esteemed resource panel. Dr. Hiroshi Karunatilaka is an assistant professor at the University of Pittsburgh, United States. She was formerly a senior lecturer at the Department of Mechanical Engineering, University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. She received her BSc in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Moratuwa in 2014 and obtained her PhD in Energy System Planning and Decision Making from the University of British Columbia, Canada in 2018. Her specialty is in developing risk-based decision support system for energy and sustainability applications. She has experience in multidisciplinary research, industry collaborations, and national and international projects related to energy system planning, energy efficiency, climate policy, carbon capture, and sustainable product development. And she has authored many journal articles, conference papers, and book chapters in this area. She has also served as an editor and a reviewer for various journals, books, and conferences. Our next resource person, Dr. Dulika Sandamalikunratna, is a senior lecturer at the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering, University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. She obtained BSc Honours Engineering in the field of Chemical and Process Engineering with a minor in Energy Engineering from the University of Moratuwa in Sri Lanka, 2007. MS in Sustainable Energy Engineering from the Royal Institute of Technology, Sweden, 2012. And PhD in Material Science and Engineering in the area of Energy and Furnace Technology from the Royal Institute of Technology, Sweden, in 2016. Her research interests include biomass pretreatment, thermomedical conversion, process modeling, and simulation. She has experience in several multidisciplinary research and educational projects. She serves as an editorial board member and a reviewer for various energy, environment, and sustainability related journals. Our next resource person is Dr. Sumantri Samaravikrama. Dr. Sumantri Samaravikrama is a senior lecturer at the Department of Integrated Design within the Faculty of Architecture at the University of Moratuwa. She earned a bachelor degree in design from Sri Lanka, followed by a MA in Design Arts from Lasalle College of the Arts in Singapore, and completed her PhD on the anatomy and historical development of Sinhala type tracers. Currently, she serves as the director of the Faculty of Architecture Research Unit and as the Center Director of the Packaging Design Innovation Hub at the Faculty of Graduate Studies of the University of Moratuwa. Her expertise extends to multidisciplinary work, particularly in the field of packaging design, where she contributes as a member of the advisory committee for the packaging industry sector under the Ministry of Industries and represents the University of Moratuwa at the National Packaging Center Expert Development Board. So, dear resource persons, we warmly welcome you to our research launch. Okay, so lay the groundwork for our conversation on sustainable development. let's begin by defining the term sustainability. Dr. Hiroshi, could you please share your perspective on what sustainability means to you and its implication for our global community?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Nani. So I hope you can see my slides. Awesome. So I'll start by introducing the concept of sustainability. What we mean when we say sustainability, because like any other uh, concept that is widely spoken of, widely adopted, this has various definitions depending on who you ask from. So the standardized definition, as per the United Nations and other international agencies, is that sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So we try to fulfill needs of today. We try to use the resources that we find on this planet to both serve the communities of today and to achieve progress uh, and to improve the standards of living without damaging or depleting the natural resources that belong to the future generations. So this sounds pretty simple, but when we go about trying to actually achieve this, it's pretty complicated because no, sustainability, if you ask somebody, someone may tell you it's about the environment. Someone else may tell it is about, when we specifically speak about sustainable development, it is about achieving the sort of development that can continue, that is constant and that can continue in the future without actually harming those who come after us. But when we try to achieve this, we have to think about the people of both today and tomorrow. We have to think about the progress. We have to think about the progress at community level. We have to think about the progress at national level and even at global level, and also about the environment. So, and these things often conflict with each other. So when we try to achieve economic progress, sometimes the environment gets harmed, and there are harmful effects on the communities. And so if you can see this slide about the consumption that we are doing today, how we are using the planet's resources, you can see that we are actually over-consuming by quite a significant amount. For example, at the global level, we need 1.75 Earths to live like we do right now. If we look at the different countries, some countries consume more than others, and if we look at different countries, some countries consume more than others, depending on their consumption patterns and the lifestyles, the economic conditions, how much they produce, and all that. So what we can see is that pretty much at the global level, pretty much everyone is consuming more than what the earth can actually produce. So if one concept that highlights this is the Earth Overshoot Day. So this marks the day when in any given year, when we consume more than what the Earth, this planet, can regenerate within that year. So let's say by around the middle of the year, on average, we have consumed more than what the Earth can replenish. So how are we meeting this deficit? We are liquidating the ecological stocks, the resources, and accumulating additional waste releasing additional emissions like carbon dioxide, that will negatively affect the future generations and negatively affect the future of the planet. So it's clear that we are over-consuming. It's clear that we cannot sustain this lifestyle. And it's clear that somebody in the I would say the global population in the future is going to feel the negative effects of this. And we are already feeling the effects of it through climate change, increased natural disasters, increased issues related to food security, the spread of diseases and all that. So, so many problems are occurring due to this. So with that in mind, the United Nations has defined these 17 sustainable development goals that we as a world should be trying to achieve. So I think most of the countries around the world, they've adopted this vision, and these sustainable development goals have been worked into national level policies, frameworks, development plans, and so on. So if you have a look at this, the interesting thing is these goals cover so many different areas, ranging from poverty reduction, zero hunger, health and well-being, to very specific things like climate action, clean energy, and then industry, innovation and infrastructure, quality education. So when we try to achieve this, now it's very clear when we look at this, this cannot be done by simply concentrating our efforts on one single area. This is a humongous task, and it needs different parties, so many different parties, to come together in trying to find economically, environmentally, and socially informed and responsible decisions. We have to think about the economics of it. So any development plan that we make, does it make economic sense? And does it serve the environmental goals? Does it also serve the needs of the communities while we are doing that? So we try to achieve economic growth. We try to innovate. We try to establish decent infrastructure. We want to reduce poverty. But when we do that, we are consuming resources. We are affecting the life on water and on land, and we are contributing to additional emissions. So how do we balance this? How do we balance this act and come up with the best solutions? This is where we need multidisciplinary thinking and a concentrated effort that brings together all these different parties, like, for example, people who are working with communities, together with the engineers, scientists, people who create policies and laws, or community planners, urban planners. This is where all these different disciplines and groups need to come together in the planning, decision-making, and making those decisions and plans a reality through actions. So I'll hand over to Dr. Sumandri to discuss further about what we mean when we say multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Hiroshi. So then, Dr. Sumantri, as mentioned, Dr. Hiroshi, could you elaborate on the distinction between interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary research approaches? Because as we navigate through the landscape of sustainable development, it's evident that research plays a vital role. So then, how can you discuss this?
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Nani. Am I audible to the audience?
Yes.
Okay. So just to definitely research does play a significant role, and the importance of knowing this is very simply to know how the fact that we actually use these terms interchangeably, so knowing it also helps. So I'll start off with interdisciplinary, which is, I'll also want to acknowledge the fact that I'm coming in from the Department of Integrated Design, so where we actually talk about integrating knowledge into other disciplines. So interdisciplinary research is actually research that involves integrating knowledge, methods, different perspectives of different disciplines. So in another sense, research cannot actually move forward without the help of the other discipline. So that is purely interdisciplinary. So why this is important is the three disciplines, like if we all synthesize together, we are able to come up with a comprehensive solution. So if I just give an example from the packaging and apparel industry, so if we are to come up with a packaging solution or a sustainable packaging solution, which both these industries constantly talk about. So I'm coming in from the discipline of design, and from my perspective, it will be mostly talking about a carton design. And that design, the discipline, I will be focusing on maybe the shape and the form, the functionality, thinking about the end user. So it'll just be a carton. But when it comes to another discipline, such as materials, so this carton, to give a holistic approach, we could actually, the carton can convert, or the discipline of material science comes to play. They would come up with a biodegradable solution, or maybe come up with a new material solution. So as a result, the carton will take a different form, and will be able to contribute to making a simple solution a little bit more holistic. Another would be, again, looking at the carton itself. If you just study the production flow, and if the carton, within the carton production, if the dye line is not designed well or not thought of well, the production flow, within the production flow, the amount of wastage of material will be high. So as a result, there is also a study on material management process also should come to play. So, but if we are to give a holistic solution on a packaging solution, a sustainable packaging solution, so doing this alone will not make any sense. So it makes sense when we actually work with different disciplines, where we highlight on working together and be able to synthesize and move forward. And on the other hand, the multidisciplinary research is very common to University of Moratuwa. I think we keep talking about it all the time. It's a very popular term within the University of Moratuwa. So here the difference is the research here is actually involved parallelly. So the knowledge, the parallel use of knowledge, methods, and perspectives within the different disciplines contributes to the research. So research from definitely a different discipline may work separately. So which actually is, again, as I said, it's quite common to Moratuwa University, is because we're very comfortable working within our silos. So we are working separately, but the difference, the place where we promote this multidisciplinary is within these silos, we come together to solve one problem. So so very clearly, it is, in comparison to interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary will not have a uniform framework. So again, if I take an example, also with a discussion that I had with Dr. Hiroshi when she was here, I would say, so there was one of her students who actually came in regarding a manufacturing of a local sauce manufacturer for a company, and the research done was actually mainly particularly about a sauce bottle. So when from the mechanical engineering perspective, she spoke about the supply chain management and spoke about how this can be solved. Whereas when the same person brought in the same problem, I looked at it completely from a different perspective, from a design perspective, because I saw the requirement of user interaction design. Whereas, even though this is a good, there is sustainable solution that can be given, but this can be further achieved if we actually look at the other perspectives of the user and the way they interact. Completely from a different perspective, another discipline can come forward as well. Like, for example, information technology, which we might never think of linking with packaging design, but obviously it can. So from a completely human-computer interaction perspective, where we can talk about labeling, we can talk about the production flow, how they can actually complete and acknowledge. Then again, now these three examples that I took, they can work separately. Nothing will affect the other. But if we come together, we are able to give this holistic solution. So that is where multidisciplinary plays a significant role. And we go into the third discipline of research, which is transdisciplinary is the word, I think, right? Transdisciplinary. So where this is actually goes beyond interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, and where this actually is about engaging stakeholders outside academia, which is very crucial. And so here we are looking at people, policymakers, we're looking at participants or more practitioners, community managers, the communities, the members of it, and so on. So the difference between transdisciplinary research is the fact that there's one particular goal, and everybody comes together to solve this. It definitely has to be a very complex requirement that requires a holistic solution, and most of it are real world problems. So examples, so Sri Lanka talks about post-harvest waste, and which is agricultural waste, which everybody is doing research in their own silos. Right. So there is, if you look at transport and logistics, will have a solution. Design will have a solution where we will talk about, designing different crates and so on. Mechanical engineering will talk about the production flow. We will have so many solutions, but what is happening is everything works together, works alone. And so the transdisciplinary research comes together when the other stakeholders, the people from the policymakers, the country, the government gets involved and make this work. So as a result, we'll end up getting a proper solution. So that's like a overview on these three approaches. So I hope we are clear as to what is interdisciplinary, what is multidisciplinary, and what is transdisciplinary.
Yes, thank you so much. So then let's now turn our attention to real-world applications of multidisciplinary research in driving sustainable development, particularly within various industries. Dr. Doleka, could you provide some example how multidisciplinary research has been instrumental in promoting sustainability within different sectors?
So extending from what Dr. Sumantri said, so first of all, I'll give you one example that how multidisciplinary approach is used in solving like environmental sustainability, which is one of the sustainability pillar. And they are, in case of multidisciplinary research, like she mentioned, there are different actors like probably designers, engineers, policymakers. They may have differently, but their target is the same target, like environmental sustainability, but they are working in different disciplines separately. So, for example, a designer may think of a product considering the environmental sustainability aspects, like selecting the raw material, the durability of the product, how to reuse it, how to recycle it, whether it can be used for some other purpose, and how to dispose it, like this. And if we consider about an engineer who develops the process that can be produced, that can produce that product in mass scale, considering the sustainability aspects, for example, waste generation, treatment, any kind of valorization that is possible, the disposal, the life cycle, environmental cost, symbiosis that can be applied, those kind of things in terms of process aspects. But that is different from the designer perspective, and also the policymakers may have their own goals, introducing eco-labels, standards, environmental act like things. So if we move on to transdisciplinary research from that point, so these designers, engineers, and policymakers will act together. Then there may be more synergetic work that can result in or benefit this environmental sustainability than that we do it separately, like design and we do it separate. So that is one thing I wanted to highlight. And now I can explain about few of the projects that I involved in during my PhD as well as during my research or educational work at the University of Moratuwa. So this first project is that is EU project, that is on extended gasification technologies. This is EU funded project. The thing is for these kind of EU funded projects, what they have is they are having holistic approach. So they always try to look at not only the research component but also the business model as well. So they have components spanning from the industry and universities, research institutes, and also the companies performing the market analysis and business opportunities on that research. So they are targeting how to implement the research. For example, this case, it is that a certain company that makes biocoal, and we were at KTH, we were studying not only at KTH, there were several other universities and companies as well. They were studying how to gasify this biocoal, which is some kind of waste that is generated, is upgraded to a fuel, which is called biocoal. So now different actors like some of the universities, they characterize the biocoal. So those kind of technical aspects are in one side. But when it comes to the other research institute, that they involve in the system aspects, the interactions between these different the biocoal making process and also the gasification, like the conversion process. So all these system aspects were covered by some other institution, and also that market aspects is covered by some other institution. So depending on whatever your expertise, you contribute to the project in that sense. So there were like 7 partner institutes from different disciplines and from different EU countries. So that project contributed mainly for these 3 sustainable development goals, as I listed. They are the affordable and clean energy and the climate action, as well as partnerships for the goals. That is actually the partnership comes in. That is also given as a sustainable development goal. If we move on to the second example that I have, is also one of my PhD projects that I involved in. That is a Swedish project in order to do fuel switching for the steel industry, which is like they wanted to switch fuel from natural gas to more sustainable fuel from biomass. So there were like partners from forestry industry, where we get biomass sources, and also we had some companies who develop gasification systems, also companies who have this steel production. So they have different like the company who develops the gasification systems, they have their own research, and also the company who do their steel production, they are having their own research. However, in this project, what we do is, as an intermediate partner like us universities, we did how to combine these 2 processes, the gasification process and the steel production process, and what are the synergies that we can get, those kind of things we analyze. How to get the waste heat can be reused in somewhere from the furnace to the gasifier. Likewise, we combine the systems and we analyze those aspects. And there was another research institute that performed life cycle analysis of that, who get some information from us after we do our system analysis, and they do their life cycle analysis. So there's afterwards, after this life cycle analysis as well, the whole project partners, they look at whether this project is feasible in terms of technical as well as environmental mainly, as well as economical. So then after that only they decide on whether they are going for a pilot plant construction and testing, and they went for that. So here also it goes 10 partners from Sweden itself and from different disciplines. That is also covering like for SDGs, affordable and clean energy, responsible consumption and production, and climate action as well as partnership. So if I move forward with what we have done here at UOM, again with EU partners, that is the EUSL energy project that we completed last year. That is also kind of partnership that we came across with technical partners, economic related partners, as well as partners who are good at social aspects, like the Faculty of Behavioral Management, Social Sciences at University of 20, who contributed regarding the social aspects of this master's program that we ultimately developed. And also the economics and sustainability part was covered by the Sustainable Economy Research Group from Central France. And also the technical aspects covered by the universities in Sri Lanka, 4 universities, as well as KTH Sweden. In addition, there was the KTH Sweden helped us to develop a business model as well. So in order to be successful in these kind of projects, what we really need to have is we need to think about the holistic approach first, and also we need to give the flexibility for different partners to work on their part based on their expertise and what they are good at. So that is one thing I have learned here. So I think we can discuss further things later on.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tulika. So with your answers, so then I have questions from Dr. Hiroshi and Dr. Sumantri again. So then as a renowned academic institution, the University of Moratuwa undoubtedly plays a significant role in advancing knowledge and innovation in various fields. We know. So then, could you shed some light on scope of sustainability research being conducted at the university, including the key focus areas and ongoing initiatives? I mean, using your experience, Dr. Hiroshi and Dr. Sumantri.
That Dr. Hiroshi, yeah, I think one of the key things both of us can speak would be on the fact that where we came together when it on the fact that there is a multidisciplinary center, research center, opportunity to open up one, and so Dr. Hiroshi, you're there, right?
Dr. Hiroshi?
Yeah.
So just wanted to tell, so just answering Dr. Naini's question, I would honestly see around 3 places from my scope where there is opportunity for this multidisciplinary. One would be definitely Golgotha Plains. That is exactly where myself and Dr. Hiroshi met at the Golgotha Plains, where the opportunity at the university giving the fact that a lot of anybody can come and publish there was an eye-opener, and also a great initiative at that point. Right now we have progressed, but the difference was coming back into our story. I was quite fascinated to see how a packaging project was written by somebody from the engineering faculty was my biggest question. I think till then we never had that platform to know, and then obviously that is the place where we started having this conversation on how what you do on the other side on packaging and what I do from this side was a conversation that was actually built because of these platforms such as that. And Dr. Hiroshi, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yes, and I will just like to mention that it was fascinating. So because like taking a simple packaging product that we just used as a container for some other consumer good, it was it was fascinating to see how differently we looked at it, because we were looking at it from more of a let's say a structural and a let's say the resource consumption perspective, let's say how much material are we consuming to produce this, um, does it have the required structural characteristics, what about transportation, so does like what about the form factor of it, does it allow easy stacking, and overall like to produce this, what sort of environmental impacts would be incurred in producing this, whereas Dr. Sumantri, coming from the design perspective, had a very different vision about it, based on how, let's say, how the users would feel and how it would, how let's say, attractive it would be to them. How much does it cater to their perceptions and senses, which we don't really take into account all that much as engineers. So, like it was a very, I would say, clear case study of different disciplines needing to come together to solve a problem.
Yeah, so actually, I think one of the key things we need to mention is also the fact that both of us respected each other's disciplines. I think that is something, and also we were humble enough to know that, okay, I don't know your discipline, so yes, I would love to learn, but I will not know more than what I can see, and so that is very crucial when it comes to this type of research. And you don't want to touch on that, because obviously when Dr. Hiroshi was talking to me, half of the things I did not understand. I'm sure it was the other way around as well, because and that is all right, and that is something that we have to build in within that. So taking in from there, so it led into something else with that first instance of meeting at the Bolgada Plains was this initial conversation of wanting to start a multidisciplinary center within the University of Moratuwa, because we realized again, more than both of us, there were other people as well who was involved in packaging or would want to contribute. And so last year we started this multidisciplinary center, uh, uh, which is called the uh, Packaging Innovation Hub. Packaging. So whereas we had a pilot study last year, we collaborated with the Export Development Board, and we just went and inquired on what is the current status. So one of the key things that we've understood is the fact that right now there is a lot of exports going. So this is also a point where Sri Lanka was going through this economic crisis, and Dr. Hiroshi and I, we were like, let's do something, right? And so when we went there, we started talking, and then we've understood that most of the exports that are going, especially the places where we can actually have income coming, like with the spices and so on, they're all going in bulk form. And going in bulk form means you're losing a lot of money, and a middleman is taking a lot of money. So that is the place where we propose to EDB saying, okay, just give us some SMEs, select, and then help us to help them so that we can help the country. And that's how the first pilot project went in. And then how we took it to the next stage was we started working with the business faculty and the integrated design department students. And Dr. Makalanda is also in the design hub. And so we actually had two groups of students meeting together and getting the business students to do the marketing aspect completely, and seeing the possibility of this proposal that we're talking about. So they, because the idea was if we have to go to the European market, because that was one area that we identified, if they're going for unit packs, that is a possible and a potential market. And so the business faculty within, obviously during that time we had not worked on how the modules work, but since it was a pilot, we wanted to just see how it could work. And obviously the two groups worked together, understood. It was wonderful to see how even students in the undergraduate level understands and value the importance of another person's discipline and respect it and know that, okay, I can do this much and you can do this much, but if we both work together, we can do so much, right? So likewise, and we were able to come up with some packaging solutions as a starting point of that innovation hub. And that was the second opportunity within the university. If anyone is interested, you can do this, and FGS is open for this. It's a matter of having a vision and wanting to work together for one target. And the third, I would also see the opportunity seen with the establishment or establishing of the multidisciplinary research journal, which is also crucial from a very scientific perspective, whereas Golconda Plains is a very unofficial type of a setting, whereas the journal, which is still not established, but I've been working, I think, for the last 1 year on the fact that we can talk on this conversation in a very scientific manner and giving provision for all different disciplines within the university to come and publish and develop our research. So that's that. And Dr. Hiroshi, I just took the floor.
No, that's all right. I mean, you are better suited to talk about this than me right now, since I'm not at the University of Moratuwa at the moment.
Yes, actually, it's nice to hear the collaboration of Faculty of Business and Faculty of Architecture. So it's a very nice. Actually, this is the thing we should develop in this culture. Yes,
but so I have to mention, as well. This the innovation hub has all the representation of the faculties inside the university and most of the departments inside the university that is relevant to packaging. So I would really say it's a wonderful collaboration and a lot to do. We are just at the start.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sumantri. So then, Dr. Hiroshi and Dr. Goleka, again, I have questions. So then, on our pursuit of sustainability, it's important to draw inspiration from successful practices and initiatives both on a global scale and within our own institutional context. So then, could you please provide us with some illustrations of global sustainable trends and innovation alongside examples of how these concepts are being translated into action of the University of Moratuwa? So Dr. Hiroshi and Dr. Golik, I think you will answer my...
Okay, if I start with, so as I already discussed, my first point is the holistic view. So when you start something like research project, there should be a holistic view or the big picture should be there. So that's how interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, those kind of research can come together in the case of research. So the other thing is that that I have seen from my experience is that identifying risk. So the European projects that I have involved in the proposal stage itself, they are identifying risk in all the steps in the project and also they rank them. So what is the risk factor and how to solve them if we meet that kind of risk. So if we know the risk at the beginning, so if we have plans for mitigation of those risks at the beginning itself, then so because this kind of research, multidisciplinary research, there may be certain risks, like for example, one partner is not continuing or one partner is not delivering as we expect. So in that case, those kind of risk identification and mitigation methods, that is one important thing as I understand from my experience. So Dr. Hiroshi, if you add something from your perspective.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this project just to bring in an example of a project that was, in my opinion, like which really had to have different disciplines coming together.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can see the screen now.
Dr. Hiroshi, actually, we love to ask the experience in your working place in your university as a professor. So we love to ask your experience also.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with this project. This is a previous project which I was involved in during my time at the University of British Columbia. So this is one project that I really like to talk about because I thought it was a very interesting project. So I think all of us have heard about the Paris Agreement for reducing emissions under the global climate action targets through the nationally determined contributions. So one way of doing this is to replace high emission energy sources like coal with lower emission sources, ideally renewables, but also LNG, just because it has lower emissions compared to coal. So one proposal, this was actually a proposal that came from an industry partner who an oil and gas company in Canada who actually wanted to see the potential of selling Canadian LNG to China, to Chinese industries, and replace coal. So why would China want to buy Canadian LNG? This is just because so all these countries have committed to a certain amount of NDCs, and depending on the way we do actually do this trade, they were hoping that so carbon credits could be generated and the proceeds could be split between the two different collaborating parties from the two countries, if that makes sense. So they were trying to come up with a credit sharing mechanism that was mutually beneficial. So this sounds simple, but it was not really so simple in execution. So we have these market instruments or market mechanisms that we call ITMOs, internationally transferred mitigation outcomes, that can potentially be used in carbon trading. But at the point where we started this study, it wasn't really clear whether this sort of initiative could be handled under the existing framework for IDMOs to a bilateral agreement. And it was also not clear whether this is legally and politically feasible. And what also had to be figured out was whether it made economic sense to a cost benefit analysis, and whether this was technically feasible, and also whether this actually made environmental sense. Because, for example, yes, like at the end use level, if you, let's say, take Chinese textile industries, stop them from using coal and replace that coal with LNG, you have lower emissions at that point. But you're creating added emissions in the upstream process of the supply chain just because you're now generating more LNG. You need more pipeline infrastructure to transport that. And then you're shipping all that to China. So you're adding upstream emissions and other environmental impacts. So does this really make sense? Does this really lead to a reduction in emissions? So in order to do this analysis, we had to have people come together from obviously the oil and gas industry, but we also needed some inputs from potential Chinese partners, and then engineering inputs, decision making, and then business and economics perspective, and then legal experts, people with experience in international trade and international relations, and then policy development. So this was, I would say, truly multidisciplinary effort to do that sort of analysis. So moving on from that, even right now where I'm right now, this is the economy, I would say, in this area is again based on the oil and gas industry. So there's a, for example, the biggest industry around where I'm living right now is a plant that belongs to the American Refinery Group, or what we call ARG. And that's where most people work around here. So it's a continuous conversation about, okay, yes, so we have this oil and gas industry. It's probably not very sustainable. So moving forward, they need to look at ways to phase out this oil and gas, but that phasing out needs to be done in a way that doesn't harm the local community, that allows the local community to progress, the city to develop, while making sure that the economic impact, the negative economic impacts are reduced while bringing in benefits or positive economic outcomes to the community, the companies, and the I would say the economy at large. So in doing this, we like when we talk about this, we have these constant conversations going on between the different disciplines. Even when we are formulating projects, when we are trying to talk to the industries, we have to have different groups. So not only just the engineers, but also the people coming from social sciences, people coming from economics, and then business backgrounds. We have to have all these people joining the conversation so that we do no harm and actually can deliver an overall holistic benefit, like Dr. Dilika mentioned. So I hope those two examples sort of explain where I'm coming from with regards to the need for multidisciplinary research and sustainable development initiatives, even at global level.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hiroshi. So then shall we give an opportunity to our participants, researchers to ask some questions? Okay. Dr. Hiroshi, so do you have something to share again with within your university? So we discuss some mechanism with your university.
So one thing, like more than mechanism, what I would want to highlight is that so to do this, and again, speaking from an academic perspective, speaking from a university perspective, what I have experienced is that when we have these supportive mechanisms that help, like sort of like foster collaboration and sort of help to get people together, this obviously this works better. For example, in the projects that I spoke about, we usually, like as researchers, we don't negotiate with the external parties. We have dedicated people like research officers or I guess legal officers who are in charge of handling this whole mechanism, which really helps. For example, in that the LNG project I spoke about, I can speak of it now because it's already published and all that. But at that time, like the non-disclosure agreements and then all these things, how the cost sharing is done, what sort of a financial agreement is made between the university and the external parties. So all of these things are obviously handled by specialized personnel. And then there are these mechanisms. One example I think I mentioned earlier when we were talking about this topic is that we have these forums where I'm working right now, where people regularly get together, all these different disciplines, humanities, physical sciences, and then people who are more into the community engagement side of things. So they get together and discuss what they're doing. And when people discuss in a common forum about what they're doing and what can be done, so what I've seen is that new collaborations and ideas just pop up. So that, I guess, if that's what you're asking, that sort of practices can really help to push this sort of multidisciplinary collaboration along, especially when it comes to sustainable development, because it's not something we can do alone in our own silos, and everyone has a very different perspective when it comes to what needs to be done in order to achieve sustainable development.
Okay, thank you for all. So before concluding, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our distinguished resource panel for sharing their expertise and insight with us today. So your contributions are invaluable and serves as guiding lights on our journey towards sustainable development. Thank you so much, dear Dr. Hiroshi, our professor, and then Dr. Dr. Sumantri. Thank you so much, dear. So then I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to each and every participant present here. Then your presence enriched our dialogue and underscores the importance of collaborative effort in addressing the challenges we face. So then again, together we can, we will make a difference. So together, let us continue to explore, learn, and inspire one another as we strive towards more sustainable future. Thank you for participation for all. We'll meet at the next research launch and upgrade. Thank you.